Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for tuning in once again. We've got this 1987 Pontiac Trans Am in the shop this week that we are going to give a completely fresh look. It is in fairly good condition overall, but the paint has just been sitting outside for most of its life, so it's faded, it's got spider cracks, it's got some blemishes, so a brand new red wrap job is going to make this thing look like it's off the dealer showroom lot once again. But I wanted to take a different approach in this episode. I wanted to go into detail on wrapping the nose of it. So this is going to be part one of a two-part segment, and in the second episode we will go over the whole car from start to finish. We just got the nose left to wrap, and typically I do a time-lapse version of me wrapping really fast through a lot of the wrapping scenes in my videos, but I thought today I would do something a little different and go more into detail about the wrapping of it and let you guys see what it's all about in real time. Hope it doesn't get too boring, and hope you like it. So I've got my middle, and so we're going to lay it in the middle of the nose. A nice trick to find the center of the piece. And I wiped the nose down with rubbing alcohol. Got her all prepped. There was the spider crack there that I sanded down smooth. You can still see the spider crack, but you can't feel the spider crack, and that's all I'm going to worry about. Just want to make sure that it goes all the way around the bottom. Alright, so a lot of gloss wraps have a protective clear over it, and it makes it very thick, and it's just a protector. You can't really work with it. You can lay down the vinyl and get it in place, but you can't really work with it, so went ahead and removed that. We're going to start in the center. Get that all permanent. Want to get that locked down here in the center, so that way when I go to the outer edges and pull really hard, it won't go anywhere. Alright, that is working great. Give it some heat, very even amount of heat all over. I'm going all over the entire thing, not just focusing in one spot. I want to evenly disperse the heat throughout this whole piece and stretch it over the entire thing. We don't want to concentrate it just on the first part where it's stuck, because any stretch marks that we get, which should be pretty much none, but any sort of hazing or stretching that we get, diminishing the finish of the wrap, we want to disperse that throughout the entire thing, and then it's harder to notice anything. Rather than if it was just concentrated in one spot, you would easily see an imperfection. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually turning the access area to this centerpiece, because we have the headlight recessed area. So as I'm stretching, it's working in my favor both ways. I'm turning it around here, and that's what I wanted to do to get around this curve, and folding it in this way, so that way I have a nice buildup of excess here, because we have two areas that I'm not saying they're going to come out perfect and lay in without having to cut it, but we can at least give me as much slack as possible and see how far we can go. So that worked out really well, and I'll just continue to finish the side. I use a rag, kind of a microfiber, it's not really, but it's damp. I soak it, wring it out, and it's still damp, and that is what I like to use to go over the whole thing, and the dampness keeps it to glide and not mark it up. That's my way of going about it. I probably shouldn't be giving away all my secrets, but that's my preferred method. So now that we've got it in place, we're going to go across these bridges. I call them bridge because you got this body line here where it jumps the gap, and now I'm going to go back and work them in. I'm going to have to put a tiny pinhole. So I'm going to put it right there. A little pinhole, because it's starting to bubble up. Evidently it has no place to escape. So we're working it down to that pinhole, and that is where all the air is going to be pushed out. But it's a very tiny pinhole, so it goes very slow. We want to keep that hole as small as possible so nobody notices it. And be patient with it and wait for it all to come out. And there you have it. Alright, so this is not sealed off, so we don't need to make a pinhole for this bottom bridge. Push that down, and we'll continue that around to the other side. So we're going to have a cut on this because it's a hard edge. See, on the side pieces, they made a separate molding. On the nose, it's completely one-piece nose, but they kept the look of the molding continuing onto the nose. So this was a legit two pieces, which you have to cut. This is a hard corner, and I'm going to have to cut that and set it down inside. So I think I'll go ahead and do that. Alright, so we've got an intake opening here, and every car and every intake hole is different, or headlight recess, so there's no clear-cut way on how to do it. You have to play it by ear on every application, but we're not going to be worried about this top part so much, because you can't really see that anyways. You're standing way up here, you can't see down there. We're more worried about the parts that are right in clear eyesight that people are going to see right offhand. So I'm going to cut along the top. Take a peek in and see what we have to work with. 100% sure what the best way to go about this is. I think I'm going to need an inlay. We're going to have a separate piece, as much as I hate to, and so you try to avoid that as much as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and cut down this side here as well. All right, so we're gonna have to put a piece in here, and I'm not sure if I need anything up in there, but I'm gonna trim that. But that's the way I chose to do it, because this corner is right in clear sight when you're on top of it looking down. I didn't want to have to put a seam there. So, but nobody is ever gonna look up, so you want to put your cut line there. And that is one side. I'm not gonna show the other side because it's all the same thing. But let's do this headlight recessed area real quick. Working it into that bridge really well. That was the most aggressive bridge on that side. On this side, it's not too bad. It's not quite as steep as this side. So I wanted to focus on this side first, and I'll work over to that side. And then after this, there's just a ton of post heating. You have to heat every square inch with the heat gun, like within an inch or 2 inches. And I like my damp rag because it helps it glide, helps it not scratch the surface. That already took like a half hour just for one side. I'll take probably another half hour for the other side to do the same process. And then after that, there's still another at least half hour of just going over it with a ton of heat on every little bump. You want to get it locked down, make sure it's secure, and make sure nothing's going to shrink back up. So it's a very timely process to do that part afterwards. Everybody just sees the application part of it, but not a lot of people show the post heating, because that is just another process in itself. Anybody can put it on initially and look good for the camera right after, but you've got to go all over it all again, every square inch of it, with a ton of heat and pressure to make sure it stays locked down. Headlight bezels are pretty small, just like side mirrors. They go good for scraps, and that is why I usually have a table of scraps over here. Keep everything clean, and that's going to make a great piece for the headlight top. So I hope you guys enjoyed that different take on the wrap videos, and hope you tune in for part 2. We're going to show the whole project from start to finish, as well as the customer's reaction when he picks it up. So stay tuned on the YouTube channel for part 2 of the Trans Am project. Hope you enjoyed. And remember to keep living life custom.